To seek first the kingdom and God's righteousness demands that Christians make specific choices in life. Money. In most lands, it is a necessity, and it can serve as a protection. However, what priority should it be given? It is vital that spiritual pursuits take first place in life. But how can one do that when the pressures of daily life become more and more demanding? To find the balance between our material and spiritual needs is to find true happiness and satisfaction.
Julius, are you coming to the gathering tonight?
I've been looking forward to it all week.
Everyone will be there.
Oh, the gathering. I can't. My parents invited Brother Timothy for dinner. I planned it weeks ago.
Julius, you promised.
Lydia, I want to come, believe me. But
This is so typical for you, Julius. Always trying to make a good impression when the overseer's here. What are you trying to prove?
I'm not trying to prove anything.
Then come. Who would you rather disappoint? Brother Timothy? Or your friends?
Forget it. Sisters, let's go. Julius obviously is a bit confused right now. When Timothy leaves, he'll be himself again.
We'll be there if you decide to come, Julius.
Excuse me, friends. Hello, Julius. Have your parents left?
I'm sorry, Brother Timothy. What did you say?
Have your parents gone home already?
Yes, they went ahead to prepare dinner. They really enjoy your visits, Brother Timothy.
Coming back to Ephesus is like coming home for me. Julius, is something wrong?
Excuse me, Brother Timothy.
Something's weighing on your mind.
No, I'm fine.
Could it have something to do with your friends who just left?
Oh, them? No, they don't bother. Well, yes, I guess you're right. They were talking about, well, about the way I act when you're around.
What I see is a young man who's progressing well in the truth.
Exactly. It seems that way. When you're here, your influence is so strong. And when you go, there's so much pressure to do what everyone else is doing.
I see.
It's like my heart is torn in two. I have spiritual goals, but I can't seem to stay focused. Higher learning, the games, and girls, I seem to lose my way. You probably don't understand a word I just said.
Perhaps I do understand. There was a time in my life when I think I was very much like you.
How could that be? You're a pillar among the congregations.
I didn't really become fully involved in my ministry until I was a little older than you are now. Growing up, I was pulled in two different directions. I always thought of myself as a Jew because of my mother and grandmother, but my father was Greek. I never felt like a real Jew. I was too timid at times to tell my father how I really felt.
You? Timid?
And when I had to explain to my father that I wanted to become a Christian, and later that I wanted to serve Jehovah more fully, I was frightened even thinking about having to face up to him.
How did you deal with the pressure?
Let me tell you about some of the events that changed my life. It was more than 20 years ago, back in my hometown, Lystra. The Jews had just stoned the Apostle Paul. My mother, Eunice, and my grandmother, Lois, had embraced the Christian faith, and I had to make some difficult decisions.
Barnabas, Timothy. It's good to see you, brothers.
We took the Apostle Paul into our home and cared for his wounds. I knew the Christian course wasn't popular, but I'd never seen anything like this.
Paul, please promise me that you'll be more careful. A lot of people still want to hurt you. And your wounds. Shall I dress them again?
My dear Eunice, you've done enough. You know we must enter into the kingdom of God through many tribulations. Timothy, we haven't heard a word out of you.
Brother Paul, what can I say? I've never seen such an angry crowd. They went from hailing you and Brother Barnabas as gods to beating you and leaving you for dead. But then you got up and went right back into the city. And you, Brother
My son, the power beyond what is normal is not out of ourselves. Jehovah supplies it.
Brothers, we've prepared some food for your journeys.
Thank you, sisters. Is it ready?
Yes, come with me. We'll pack it up.
Brother Paul, I'm curious. How should I put this? Do you have any regrets?
Regrets? No, my son. Even in my darkest moment, I have never regretted my choice to give up worldly fortune and fame. It was useless. I consider it as mere refuse. I only regret not having given it up sooner.
Yet, look at what you've lost.
No, look at what I've gained. For 13 years, I've enjoyed the privilege of strengthening our brothers. I've helped form new congregations. I've seen crowds of disciples everywhere turning to the Lord. Regrets? No, Timothy, I have no regrets.
Not even after enemies of the truth beat you mercilessly?
Timothy, do you consider Jesus to be a model for us to imitate?
Of course.
Before coming to this earth, what was his position?
He was God's master worker, happy before God all the time.
And then what?
He delivered us from sin and death.
Right, but not before giving up everything and becoming a slave. He was viewed as a despicable blasphemer, an accursed criminal worthy of death. Was all of that in vain, a failure?
Of course not.
So self-sacrifice results in great gain, does it not? It's not a life wasted. It's a life lived to the full. It's a life lived with the only worthwhile purpose.
But Jesus was God's Son, and his purpose was so noble.
That's true. But is our purpose any less noble when compared to the mold this world tries to squeeze us into? What are the nations eagerly pursuing?
Prominence, glory. Athletes gain great fame and a great deal of money.
Fine. Let me test your memory. What was the name of the runner who won the sprint race at the Olympics the year that Alexander, the king of Macedonia, attended the games?
How would anyone know that?
Do you remember then who was crowned champion at the wrestling contest 40 years later?
I have no idea.
Isn't that interesting? They trained hard. They sacrificed certain pleasures in life. They won their cherished prize, and yet you can't recall their names. Now, let me ask you, what was the name of someone who as a little boy began serving at Jehovah's Tabernacle?
Now that's easy. Samuel.
And what about the young woman who was a queen in Persia and put her life in danger for Jehovah's people?
That's not difficult either. Esther, the cousin of Mordecai.
Why do you remember those names?
Because they're in the Holy Writings.
Yes, but why are they there? What do Samuel and Esther have in common?
They were devoted to God.
And they were self-sacrificing. Would you say that their life of self-denial led to failure?
Failure? No. I am certain that their names are written in the book of life.
Whatever they sacrificed to serve Jehovah, do you think it was worth it?
I think I see your point, Brother Paul. So
Paul,
if we use...
The sisters have prepared more provisions than you and I will ever need.
My dear sisters, we will always remember your hospitality and love.
Our love and our prayers go with you, Paul.
My son, remember what we discussed.
I won't forget it. That night, I made it my determination to put kingdom interests first in my life.
Hello. Oh, I like this.
The next day at the marketplace, I wanted to share this good news with my best friend, Jonathan. Then Paul asked me, do you remember who the little boy was who began serving in the tabernacle in Israel? And right then I understood what he was trying to teach me.
Even I know he's talking about Samuel.
True. But that wasn't the point. Samuel and others made a name with Jehovah, and they will always stand as examples for us. They truly had fulfilling lives in Jehovah's service. For men like Samuel, it wasn't about selfish pursuits. It was about self-sacrifice.
So, what are you getting at?
Ever since we got baptized, I've seriously been considering my future.
Don't you think I know that? We've always had long talks about this since we were children.
Yes, but now I finally am focused on the goals I want to pursue. I want to use my life to the full in God's service.
Wait a minute. You've always been focused. I mean, we've always been focused. Our goal's been to go to school together in Athens. What suddenly changed that?
My conversation with Paul has made me re-examine my priorities. Ever since he became a Christian, Paul has used his life to honor God. I can't get over how happy he is with the decisions he's made. I want to be just as happy as he is.
And I want to serve God too, Timothy. But there's goals I want to achieve first. Education, marriage.
There's nothing wrong with those plans. But maybe we should be reaching out for spiritual goals first.
Why? What's the rush? We have our whole lives ahead of us.
I know, Jonathan.
What's your father going to say? You don't even want to tell him, do you?
I am going to tell him. Tonight, in fact.
Remember when we were younger? We used to talk all the time about going to school at Athens together. Learning at the feet of the masters, establishing a profitable business. Maybe even moving our families to Ephesus. Those were our goals.
And there's still a part of me that wants that. For both of us. But I also want to honor Jehovah by doing all I can in his service.
But you could do both. Lead a normal life and preach. Hey, Timothy, look around you. I mean, there are great opportunities ahead. Look at this prosperous nation.
Yes, look at this nation. And see how many need to hear the good news.
Timothy, I love you like a brother. But this isn't going to change my goals. Next month, I'm leaving for Athens whether you come with me or not.
I can no longer ride in the faith of my mother and grandmother. I know what I must do.
God's blessing, Timothy. I have to go. Be well.
You too, Jonathan. That was difficult. But it was nothing compared to what I had to face next.
Timothy, is that you?
Yes, Mother.
Did you get the provisions?
Well, not really.
Are you okay, son?
I told Jonathan that I want to do more in God's service.
Well, that's wonderful.
No, you don't understand. Jonathan didn't think it was wonderful. It was almost as if he felt betrayed.
I'm sorry, Timothy. That must have disappointed you. But he has to make his own decision about serving God more fully. You know, that's not going to be easy. Not everyone will encourage you to pursue Christian goals.
No, not everyone. But he is one of my best friends. Surely he should understand.
What a day.
Your father is here. It might be time to tell him of your desire as well. Say a prayer, son, for courage. I'm going to go and finish the meal.
Ah, hello, Timothy.
Hello, Father.
The marketplace was packed today. The Roman garrison has brought so much business. Something smells good. I'm home, Eunice. So tell me, son, how was your day?
Excellent, Father.
You must share it with me, then. The talk in the market today was about that preacher, Paul. No one can believe he returned to the city after what happened. Among his many faults, he is a courageous man.
I would say so.
This I cannot believe. Here's a man from a prominent family who had a good education for a Jew. He has the rare talent to become somebody, but look at him. He's reviled. I will never understand a man like that. But you, my son, I want you to enjoy a good life and to take over the family business.
Thank you, Father.
You're gifted, intelligent. There's never been a better time for a young man like you. Use your talents to get ahead in the world.
Father, now that you mention it...
Yes?
Say
it, Timothy. Speak your mind.
I need to tell you something.
Yes. Tell me about your day. Wait. This doesn't have anything to do with that man Paul, does it?
No, Father. It's about me.
That's a relief.
I have no desire to go to Athens.
Fine, Timothy. If not Athens, then Alexandria. I just want you to have the best education possible. Either city can give you that.
No, Father, you don't understand.
My son, I have great confidence in you, even if you don't have it in yourself. I've groomed you for this all your life.
Yes, Father, and I appreciate what you've done for me. But my goals have changed. I want to engage more fully in preaching the good news about Christ.
What? What did you say?
I want to pursue my ministry full time.
Timothy, do you know what you're saying? Do you want to bring ostracism upon this household and upon yourself? Everybody everywhere speaks against this sect. How could you throw your life away for it?
I'm not throwing my life away.
No? How else shall I view your decision? Those accursed followers of that man Jesus are despised and persecuted. Will our family become a laughingstock? No. No, Timothy, no son of mine will do this.
I only want to do God's will.
Is it God's will for you to be dead? I want you alive. Am I going to find you outside the city one day clinging to life because our people turned on you like they turned on Paul? No, this cannot be.
Father, you know that I love you deeply, but you always taught me to honor the gods. I am honoring the only true God. This is the best way I know how to do that.
This is not what we had planned. This is not what I dreamed for you. Timothy, you've broken my heart. Eunice, put my dinner away. I'm no longer hungry.
I'm sorry, Brother Timothy. I can't help but feel so foolish for coming to you with my small problems. What you went through, I never knew.
So many of our brothers are going through far worse.
Did your father ever speak to you again?
Certainly. In fact, he allowed me to pursue my goals. And he always supported our household while he was alive. He was a good man.
So how long was it before you traveled with Paul?
Some years later, after I lived in Iconium for a short time. Traveling with Brother Paul was quite a blessing. But before the blessing came other tests. Mother, are you sure you're making enough food? The brothers from Iconium are also coming. From what I remember, they have big appetites.
Don't worry, Timothy. Leave the cooking to us. You just go and make sure you have that room in order for them to meet in.
It's ready.
Jonathan!
Jonathan! Oh, my, how long has it been since we've seen you?
Oh, about 2 or 3 years, Sister Lois.
My friend, it's wonderful to see you.
Oh, so good to see you too, Timothy.
And who is this?
Do you remember Persis? We all used to play together when we were children until our family moved to Athens.
Why, of course. Oh, and look how you've grown into a lovely young woman.
Oh, thank you, Sister Lois.
Well, we came to announce that we're engaged to be married.
That's wonderful!
Congratulations.
Thank you. I also came to talk to you, my friend. It's been so long since we've been able to talk face to face.
I read every one of your letters, Jonathan.
There's so much in those letters I couldn't tell you, Timothy. I can't even begin to describe what it was like being in Athens. The education I received just opened my mind.
I got my experience in Iconium and...
Are you serious? I'm talking about a higher education in Athens. You have heard of it, haven't you? The games, the theater, the great teachers.
Remember, I was planning on going there with you. But Iconium, now that was an experience. The congregation there gave me my real education. What a joy it was to see young ones making the truth their own.
Well, if they wanted to see another follower of Jesus, they had to look no further. They had Timothy in the flesh.
Actually, I learned more than they did.
Oh, please. You don't know what a real education is till you go to a place like Athens. I'm ready for anything the world throws my way.
Sounds like things have worked out for you.
So, what about you? I know it must be tough after your father died, and the family business isn't what it used to be. Now, what are your plans, Timothy? Don't you want financial security?
We're content having sustenance and covering. Keeping my life simple has given me freedom to do more for the congregation.
Yeah, but don't you ever wonder what's out there?
There are times when I think about having more. But I've found that true to the Master's words, giving in God's service brings real happiness.
You always have struggled to maintain your spiritual priorities, and for that I do admire you. But as for me and my household, we're moving to Ephesus.
Really?
I met this prominent Christian from Ephesus who is in Athens on business. His name is Philetus, and he's got this thriving trading company, and he asked me to join. Timothy, I told him about you, and from what he says, there's plenty of opportunity in his city for both of us.
Really? But I don't want to leave my ministry.
Well, I would never want you to do that. But Timothy, if you need anything, write me. Believe me, this will be worth your while.
Paul and Silas will be here shortly. They would love to see you. Why not stay and...
Jonathan?
I'd love to, but...
Jonathan, your parents are waiting.
We have to go.
Jonathan, how I've enjoyed seeing you again. Exactly what did you mean when you said it would be worth my while?
Timothy, look at this number. That's your share of the business.
That's a good prospect. But I would
just
never...
think about it. Remember what I said, though. If you need anything, write me.
Jonathan, we really must go now.
Yes, dear. Timothy, we can be a great team. Believe me, this will be worth your while, my friend.
Who knows, Jonathan? Don't forget about us here in Lystra.
Paul and Silas are here.
Welcome, brothers.
Hello. It's good to see you.
Please, come in.
Timothy.
It looks like you're cooking for the whole congregation, Eunice.
Paul, Silas, you must be famished. And are these the fine elders from Iconium? Timothy always speaks so fondly of the brothers in your city.
We were so happy to have him.
Timothy, we've been talking about you.
You have, Brother Silas?
Yes, Timothy. We've been hearing good things from the elders both in Lystra and in Iconium.
Your faith and devotion are evident in this congregation.
You've gained the brothers' respect in Iconium as well.
What are your goals, Timothy?
I love the congregation here in Lystra. But there's so much to do in the Lord's work beyond our city. I plan to talk to you and Brother Paul about making myself available to do more.
I'm glad to hear that, Timothy. You've matured spiritually since we left. What has it been? 3 years now. Let me ask you about something that the brothers and I have discussed at length and prayed about.
What is it, Brother Paul?
We need help as we preach the good news among the nations. We'd like you to join us in the missionary work.
Me? I'm speechless.
So you are. But will you accept the assignment?
This is what I've prayed about for years. But with my father gone, and both mother and grandmother in need, it may not be the best time.
Timothy, this is an answer to your prayers.
We've spoken to the Lystra body of elders. They've lovingly agreed to assist your family, if necessary, in your absence.
Your father did not leave us with nothing. We'll get along with Jehovah's help.
What about you, grandmother?
Timothy, we'll be just fine. Let God use you to the full.
Will you accept the assignment, Timothy?
How could I reject such a privilege? But, Mother, you sure? When I left for Iconium, Father was here. Now?
My son, we will miss you terribly, but nothing could make us happier. You're leaving for the best reason of all, and that's to serve God more fully.
Missionary life led to many blessings. But my goals were challenged in ways I had never thought of before.
Give my greetings to every holy one in union with Christ Jesus. I want to send greetings from our brothers here in Rome. Take this down. The brothers who are with me send you their greetings. All of the holy ones, but especially those of the household of Caesar, send you their greetings. And Timothy, one final word for our brothers. The undeserved kindness of the Lord Jesus Christ be with the spirit you show.
Excellent, Paul. This letter is motivating. Shall I arrange to send it to Philippi?
Yes, please do so. What is it, Timothy? Have we forgotten something in our letter?
No, it's quite complete.
Then what is it?
Nothing important.
Something is wrong, my son. You haven't been yourself for days. Is there something we need to talk about?
It'll be fine.
Are you hiding something from me?
I feel unworthy.
What do you mean?
You praise me too much, Paul. What did you write to our brothers in Philippi? I have no one else of a disposition like his.
Who, like a son with a father, slaved with me for the furtherance of the good news. I mean that.
I know you do. But I can't live up to these words. You've always seen more in me than I see in myself. Why?
Do you remember when we first met?
How could I forget? Almost 15 years ago. I thought we had lost you.
Yes, Lystra almost became my grave. How your family nursed me when I returned from Derby. That memory will always be with me. Do you recall how we would sit for hours and talk?
You opened my eyes to a world I never even knew existed. I still call to mind your words. How are those multitudes here without someone to preach? Then you spoke of Macedonia, of Athens, of Rome, even of Spain. You envisioned congregations of fellow believers springing up everywhere around the Great Sea.
And when we spoke of missionary service, I saw your eyes light up. I saw your sincere faith, a faith that dwelled first in your grandmother Lois and your mother Eunice.
They set a fine example.
Yes, but it was you who chose to follow their example. When you helped to care for my wounds, I saw empathy in your eyes. And when we talked about working for the Lord, there was excitement in your heart. You displayed unwavering loyalty, and I came to have confidence in you.
I so much wanted to help you with the work.
That's my point. When I returned to Lystra some 3 years later, you had grown into a capable young man. It was then I realized that my prayers were answered.
You've mentioned that before.
Silas and I needed help. Mark had left us, and Barnabas was no longer with me. The brothers had nothing but praise for you. And when we laid our hands upon you, it was revealed to us that Jehovah had further work for you.
How I appreciate God's hand in these matters.
You have truly made your advancement manifest. So when I write that I have no one else of this disposition, it is the truth.
But many have worked hard in spreading the good news.
Yes, but you are the one who has stuck with me through all these years, through all the tears and all the trials.
Who could have passed up such a privilege to see the good news preached in all the world under heaven?
Many young men with your gifts have. Think about it. Would your father have chosen this course for you? You spoke of your friend, Jonathan. Would he have recommended this? Look at where you are. Look at me. You are with a person who's in prison. This cannot be what others envisioned for you. In fact, I doubt you even envisioned this for yourself.
Maybe not. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. What could give greater satisfaction? Higher learning? Wealth? They can't compare. Thanks to Jehovah, I am rich. I've received the best education a man can have.
Is it any wonder then, Timothy, that you've become like a dear child to me?
Ah, here was that then. By the gods, Paul! You and your troublemaking friends, your brothers, will not shut your mouths, will you?
We found this one babbling about that miracle-working Messiah to one of our men. Do you realize your subversive lunacy has destroyed some of our best families in Rome?
We cannot stop speaking about what we have seen and heard.
Paul, this is not a matter to be taken lightly. If I ever catch you or your friends sharing any more of your laughable ideas with my men of the Praetorian Guard, you will receive no more visitors. Or worse.
God is our helper. We're not afraid. What can men do to us? Did they hurt you, my son?
No, I'm fine. I've learned to deal with that kind of persecution. What I've never been able to adjust to are the disagreements within the congregation. And to handle these situations without your help, Paul, I'm just not ready.
Ah, your next assignment, Ephesus.
We met with our Ephesian brothers in Miletus, 5 years ago? You warned them that oppressive wolves would mistreat the flock.
We cautioned them that these would arise from right among them. Now I understand this lack of confidence you're experiencing. Whether it's the love of money, the desire for prominence, or the desires of the flesh, some of our brothers have been led astray.
That's what concerns me.
Timothy, you are well qualified to shepherd our brothers in Ephesus, to readjust some of our fellow Christians there, and to warn certain persons there to stop spreading false teachings.
I'm worried about my friend Jonathan. He and his family moved to Ephesus more than 10 years ago.
Do you think he's going astray?
He appears to be prospering materially, but sometimes I wonder how the move has affected his family spiritually. In his letters, he seems more determined than ever to become rich. It seems that he's holding on to the truth only by a thread.
That's why I'm sending you, to help our brothers get a firm hold on the real life.
This may be my most difficult assignment yet. Some of the brothers there have been in the truth nearly as long as I've been alive.
Let no one look down on your youth. See to it that they look up to you as an example in speech, behavior, faith, and love.
How can I do that?
Don't allow the subtle influences of this world to sidetrack you. Especially could that be a problem in a place like Ephesus. Give your whole attention to spiritual pursuits so that your progress is plain for all to see.
I pray that Jehovah give me the spirit and power I need to do that.
My son, God will finish your training.
I will sorely miss you, Paul. I feel as if I'm leaving my family all over again.
And I will miss you. But wherever you are, you will be in my thoughts and prayers. It's time to think about departing.
Will I ever see you again?
I hope so. Timothy.
Yes.
You are ready, my son.
My friend Timothy. It has been such a long time. We are so delighted to have you back in Ephesus. When I heard you were coming, I wasn't about to miss this meeting.
I'm glad, Jonathan. How's Persis?
Good. She's home nursing our newborn.
Is that your third?
Fourth. 3 daughters and a son who's about to turn 11.
Timothy, good to see you are doing well.
Oh, Philetus, excuse me. Timothy and I have a lot to catch up on. Timothy, you do remember Philetus, don't you?
Yes, of course. Jonathan often speaks of you in his letters.
And nearly everyone has spoken of you, Timothy.
Philetus is generous and well-respected in the congregation and in the city.
Some teach, others preach, and I give what I can.
He's helped so many brothers make a good living. Thanks to Philetus, I am finally achieving some of the goals I set when I left Lystra.
I'm happy for you, Jonathan. And how are you doing in the congregation?
Well, I mean, I'm here, am I not?
You know that's not what I'm asking you about.
Jonathan is a fine brother. He does what he can as a young man with a family. Now you, Timothy, you're a man in your prime with great potential. What are your plans here in Ephesus?
I came to minister to the friends here in Ephesus. Paul has assigned me to help the congregation.
Ah, our brother Paul. Is he still in prison?
Brother Philetus, you and all the brothers are aware that Paul is no longer in prison. So why would you ask that?
Well, you just never know with our brother Paul from one day to the next. Anyway, it was so tragic to hear you suffered along with him, Timothy. Paul is getting along in years, but you've got your best years ahead of you. Is it true that Paul wants you to live a life of self-denial?
A life of self-denial? No. A life of self-sacrifice, yes. And I've been blessed to choose such a life. Many times Paul and I have had an abundance physically, but other times we've been in want. Yet our cup has always overflowed spiritually.
I'm happy to hear that. But Timothy, you can have it all in Ephesus. A good life, both physically and spiritually, just as Jonathan does.
You both seem very confident in your ability to pursue riches while pursuing kingdom interests. Yet our Lord said that this would be more difficult than a camel entering the eye of a needle.
But it's not wrong to want a better life, is it?
Only when the pursuit of such a life becomes the priority. That's when a man becomes divided. You cannot slave for God and for riches, Philetus. I've been greatly blessed in pursuing kingdom interests.
No doubt. But what kind of stability could this traveling life bring you? By the way, Timothy, how's your mother back in Lystra? Could she use a bit more help? It can't be easy being a widow.
She is such a dear sister.
Are you really concerned about my mother, Philetus? Or are you just trying to further your point? My mother is serving faithfully back in Lystra. The brothers there have lovingly helped me care for her needs when I can't be there personally.
Charity. This is merely an example how you could do so much more with your connections, with your abilities, and your experience. Surely you want to reach your fullest potential.
Timothy, Philetus is right. There is no telling what you could achieve here.
Let me be straight with you, Timothy. When I see young ones like you, I worry that certain brothers are not looking out for your best interests.
I do, Philetus. Are you really...
Please, let me finish. I've heard the words of our brother Paul in his letter, with all his ramblings against the, how did he put it? Uncertain riches? Senseless and hurtful desires and the like? Don't you think he's become a bit unbalanced?
Oh, definitely.
I pray that all of our brothers acquire such a zeal for the kingdom.
I'm only telling you what many people feel in their heart, but are afraid to say.
Be careful, Philetus. The heart is treacherous.
Yes, but that cuts both ways. Paul has spent more time in prison of late than administering to the congregations. Of course he says that the great minds of this world are in darkness. If he admitted that this nation was the greatest and most enlightened in history, which it is, he'd be admitting that his own choices in life have been unwise.
I think that you are the one that has been misled, Philetus.
You say that, but Paul is the one who writes these letters from a prison cell. A bitter old man, alone with his thoughts, stubbornly clinging to the ill-advised course he chose decades ago. It's clear to see, Paul is out of touch with reality.
Our brother Paul is very much in touch with kingdom realities. This is something that fleshly men without faith cannot fathom. Christ appointed Paul as an apostle to the nations. Jehovah is richly blessing his ministry. How dare you say that?
But could it be that Paul promotes his personal ideas? This talk about the love of money. From a man that has nothing.
Honestly, Timothy, how seriously can we take that?
Have you forgotten that Jesus had nowhere to lay his head?
Paul admonishes husbands and wives. Yet, what does a man with no wife or children know about family responsibilities? No, Timothy. He teaches his own warped beliefs, not the commands of God.
Philetus, stop thinking like a fleshly man. I admonish you to stick to the helpful teaching handed on by the apostles. To reduce the Christian way of life to a life of comfort and convenience would be to miss the purpose of God's undeserved kindness.
Timothy, is that a way you speak to an older person who offers his hand to you? Philetus...
It's okay, Jonathan. It's okay. I understand, Timothy. This must be very upsetting to you. After all, Paul has been like a father to you.
Rather than holding faith and a good conscience, you speak like Hymenaeus and Alexander. You well know that such men were handed over to Satan.
Hymenaeus and Alexander? Is that a threat? Is someone conspiring to expel me from the congregation? You're too young for that, Timothy. I have been a Christian since you were a mere boy. Jonathan, let us not waste any more of Timothy's precious time.
Timothy.
Why are you here?
What do you mean, Father?
I mean what I ask. Why are you here? Do you really think anyone here takes you seriously? Everyone knows that when young Timothy speaks, Paul is really talking. All you are is a puppet, and a poor imitation at that. Come back to us when you've grown up and have an original thought to share.
Timothy, what have you done? Philetus, he was just trying to help you.
Was he trying to help me or himself? Didn't you hear him? He wants bright young men to advance his business. People who are determined to be rich fall into all sorts of temptations and traps. Some people love money so much that they've given up their faith and caused themselves a lot of pain.
First of all, he's not determined to be rich. He already is rich. And second of all, he's not in any sort of pain. Did you even look at him?
Jonathan, my brother, you're missing the point.
You know what? You're missing a great opportunity. I've worked with that brother for as long as you've been with Paul. He's helped out my family tremendously.
Has he really, Jonathan? Isn't it time to think about your family's spiritual needs? We must put our hope on the living God. None that rests his faith in him will be disappointed.
Yeah, that may work for you, but the sweat on my brow puts food on my table. I want to give my family a real future, Timothy.
Jonathan, you are talented. Very talented. Be careful how you use, or perhaps I should say, how you allow others to use your talents. Seek the kingdom first. That's how one lays a fine foundation for the future and gets a firm hold on the real life. Have you ever truly done that? Be honest with yourself.
Timothy, I'm simply trying to provide for my family. I guess I don't know how to do both. I'm just a little confused.
Think, Jonathan, isn't it time to have a simple eye, focused on spiritual pursuits?
I don't know. I wish I had your faith, Timothy.
Jonathan, are you coming?
I fear for you, Jonathan.
Jonathan, I thought we were leaving together.
I've never heard this story before.
You were quite young. It's been some 6 years now.
What happened to Philetus?
Sadly, he rebelled and was finally put out of the congregation.
That is sad. I realize now it wasn't as easy for you as I thought.
No, I didn't always feel up to the task. But God always made up for my deficiency.
Will Jehovah do that for me?
You can be certain that he will, my son.
We've been looking all over for you.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Jonathan, I should have asked you if I could spend some time with your son.
You should have asked me. What better friend could my son be with?
Brother Timothy was telling me about when he was my age.
Oh. That means he was telling you about your father before he got serious about the truth.
Now this is quite a story.
Dear Persis, I was just telling Julius that all of us have had to struggle to maintain our spiritual goals.
He told me about that argument he had with Philetus. That was something.
It sure was. You could say that was a turning point in my life.
Philetus could not hide his true character anymore.
Until that moment, I had completely blinded myself to his selfish and wicked reasonings. It really frightened me.
I was afraid just hearing the story, as if Jehovah was going to strike him right there.
When I got home that day, I took a good look at my family, and I dropped to my knees. And I begged God to show me what was truly worthwhile to pursue. And it became clear that our thoughts, our goals, and our priorities were just not right.
We said we were doing it all for the children, but they were the ones who were suffering spiritually. Deep inside, we knew Jehovah's service had been all but abandoned.
Yeah, God gave me a glimpse of how I looked that day, and it was not pleasant. It was like a lamp had been lit. And Timothy, I thank Jehovah for your fine example.
And we thank him for the good effect you've had on the congregation and on our family.
Serving Jehovah has brought so much happiness to me. There were opportunities to get involved in other pursuits, but believe me, God made it worth my while to serve him more fully. And I don't regret one day of my service to him.
That's what I want to be able to say when I'm older.
And Julius, Timothy imitated the Apostle Paul